9ミリセカンド。で、
Our next
イン
run
ゲ
is
ームタイ
ready,
ム、
so
ゲーム
let's go
内
over
時間
to
が
shrub
23分
with rain
37
world,
秒、
monk pebbles percent.
6
Good
ミリ
luck
セカンド
and take it away.
という
Hello,
のが
I'm
現在
Shrub. I'll
SRC
be
上に掲
running
載され
Rain
ている
World
記
Monk
録と
Pebbles
なっ
percent,
ているよ
and
う
I'm
で
just going to
す。
get started right away. There's a little intro cutscene that
画
you
面
can
来て
see
ま
at the
す
start
ね。
here. That'll give us some
モ
exposition
ンク、
as I talk
あ
about
始
Rain
ま
World.
ってました。始まりました。グッ
So
ドラックです。
in
なん
Rain
か
World,
文句
you
選
play
択して、
as Little Slug Cat.
うん
It's a
この
2D
文句っ
platformer
て
kind
いう
of
のは
game.
多分ジョ
And
ブ
at
な
the end
の
of
かな、
each
なんかいわゆ
day,
る
where cycles
RPG でいう
occur,
ところ
there's
の
a torrential downpour that
サブ
kills
カテゴリ
anything
ーを
and
見ると
everything
サ
in
バイ
sight
バー
of
と
the
ハン
city.
ターっ
So
ていうの
our
が他
main
にご
goal
ざい
to
ますので、
survive is to find some food, find a shelter, and shelter in that shelter
ね
in order to save the game and move on to the next cycle.
そして、
For Pebbles percent, we need to meet a giant robot called 5 Pebbles, known in game as an iterator, and then beat the game by making our way to the Void Sea. There's a few
この
slug
リーダー
cats you
ボー
can
ド
play
は
as. I'll be playing as the monk. And you can see
ノ
some
ー
depictions of
DLC
slug cats here at the beginning.
DLC を使わない
And we'll also get our
やつなの
first preview of what the rain does and its consequences. Now, you might get the feels that we're going to get introduced to our protagonist right away here, but we're actually going to get misled a little bit. And this is the survivor, one of the other slug cats, in the beginning of their story, falling down into our starting area.
文句を使用して
And
プ
then
レイ
this
す
is
る
where
必
the
要があり
monk's
ます。
story deviates. We see our little yellow guy up here, taking up the courage to follow his brother down into the drain.
まあ、オープ
This
ニ
will
ング
drop
ムー
us
ビー
right
で
into
す
the
かね、今
tutorial,
の
and
は。
I'm going to get started right away.
始まったけど。
Thank you.
改めまして、グッ
So,
ドラックです。
Rain World speedrunning has been around for about
今
8
のが
years
オー
now.
プニン
So
グ
this
か
starting
な。
area, the tutorial, has been pretty heavily optimized. And we're going to start with a couple of rolls and some
操作が
slides
始ま
to
っ
get
たよ
under
うで
these blocks. And we're going to immediately
この
deviate from the typical route that you would follow here. And we're going to
今
grab
動いてる
some
精霊
food
み
that,
たいな
if
感
I
じ
can
の
do this maneuver,
キャラクターが
you normally would not be able to grab.
主人
This is,
公なのか
we're
な。
using a tech here called the crawl turn vault, which allows us to jump about 8.4 tiles into the air. The slug cat is typically 2 tiles high. We're going to grab some fruit. As I mentioned at the start, our initial goal is to grab food and then find a shelter to save the game. If you look in the bottom left right now, you can see some circles, and that is the amount of food that we can eat and store. Up to the line, I can do another vault, grab this. Up to the line is how much we need to sleep or shelter the first time, and then the extra 2 will be kept into the next day for a cycle. We want to grab as much food as possible at the start. And you can see the screen's darkening, the rain's starting to come, but we're going to get to the shelter right away. We'll be done with our first cycle. That's a cutscene. The rain doesn't normally come that quickly,
ああ、
so we won't
上
have to
で
worry
タ
about
イマー
that
回
in
って
the
ま
future.
すね。
Cycles are usually about
これが
6
インゲー
minutes
ム
long
タイ
to
ム
13
にな
minutes
る
long.
のか
If
な
you look
っ
on
て
the
いう
left here, you'll see some
ところで
symbols going up. That is
何か
our
をし
karma.
ている。何か合わせて。
Now, karma is pretty important in Rain World. It's kind of a measure of how well you can survive in an area. It goes up when you have a successful cycle, and it goes down when you die. And between each region, there's multiple regions, there's a gate. And the gates have a certain karma level you need in order to leave the region. And it kind of is a way of proving that you can survive in an easier region before moving on to a harder region. Now, to leave the starting area we're in, known as outskirts, we only
何か
need 3 karma, which is what I'm at
何か
right
ロー
now.
プかツ
We'll
タ
be
か
going
な
through
んかを
multiple
登っ
regions
て
in one
進
cycle.
んで。
So
ああ、
we
そこ
want
入
to
れるん
get
だ。
one more karma to get to
何
4,
か
which will be the highest gate.
狭い通路みたいなのを通っていって
On
る
the
の
left, you
か
can
な。
see the main enemy archetype of Rain World. Those are lizards. They have different
結構
colors that
狭
kind
い
of
通路とかも通れたりしちゃう。
signify their different passive and active abilities, for lack of a better word. A second shelter. Green lizards back there, very tanky, but very slow and not very agile, not able to move very far. So we don't have to worry about them too much. We'll see other types later on though, and I'll point them out when I can. We're going to be doing our first skip here. This is known as Dragon Skip. And there's a piece of terrain up here. If I can do
はい。
another vault.
レイン
These
ワー
are
ルド
quite
で
hard
ご
to
ざい
do
ま
as they
す。
are frame perfect. We kind of landed in what looks like the mouth of a dragon. It allows us to skip the entire left side of this room here, which saves quite a lot of time. And as you can see, there was a green lizard as well as a pink lizard down there. we want to avoid. Pink lizards are quite a bit more agile. Best to just stay out of their way. See a new
こ
symbol
の
here
モ
as we
ンク
leave this
とハン
room.
タ
This is
ー
a
は
karma gate. The symbol in the background is for 3 karma, and we have 4 karma, so we'll make it through into our second
結
area
構難
here,
易度
known
的
as the
な
industrial
感じなの
complex.
かなって。
Now, Rain World, the main draw
Wikipedia
of speedrunning Rain World
表
is
記
the
を見る
movement
感じです
system.
と。
You're kind of given this loose set of rules, like this chunk must stay near this chunk, and you can do this move by doing these inputs, or more accurately, by being in this state. And so you can kind of exploit it in a lot of ways. So I'll show you later on. We're in our second region here, industrial complex.
黄色、
A
モ
little
ン
bit of an
クですね、
architecture
黄色の。
change from outskirts. We're going to start heading
モン
upwards.
クがイージーで、そのデフォル
using
ト
a
の子
wall
が
pounce.
ノーマルで、
One of the
そ
movement
の
techs
ハ
I'll
ン
be
ター
using
が
most
ハー
is
ド
the
モー
blue
ド
lizard
み
run.
たいな
Got another lizard type here. These are blue lizards. They
感
are
じっぽい
not
ですね。
the sharpest
これ
tools
を
in the
見てい
shed.
ると。
They can be threatening if you don't pay them any attention. And so, as an example for
SRC
movement
の
tech that we
記録サイトの
kind
方
of
でも、
exploit, is wall pouncing, which I just mentioned. Now, wall
ハンターが一
pounces
番長い。
really only have 3 conditions. You have to have your head moving at a certain speed, and you need to have the ability to jump, and you need to be crouched. So it's a pretty loose rule set, and so while the intended way to use them is to kind of pounce into walls and press jump, you can actually throw items into walls, which will move your head fast enough that you can get a wall pounce.
ジョブはおおよそ
Another
難易度
enemy
に
over there,
近い。
another lizard type. Those are known as white lizards, but
難易度とか、あとはできるアクションとかも
they
少しず
camouflage in
つ
the background.
変わると。
And we were able to get by him just by throwing a rock at him, stunning him, and flipping him around and
ていうか
leaving.
今気づいたけど、ディフィカルティって書いてます
Already
ね、
done with our
SRC の
second
方。
region here, industrial complex. We're making our way into our third region, chimney canopy. This is another 3
この
karma
選ん
gate.
だ
We've got 4 karma,
ス
so
ラッ
we'll
クキャッ
do
トちゃん
okay.
によって難易度と
It's
か
going
で
to
きる
get
アクショ
a
ン
lot
が変
more
わっ
vertical
て
as
く
we
る。
make our way to Pebbles. As I mentioned, he's a giant superstructure. So
今
this
回の
entire
今回
first
は
15
イー
minutes
ジ
of this run,
ー。
we'll
一
be
番
making our way just upwards to his main chamber
こ
where
の
we'll meet him and he'll give us a gift that we need to finish the game.
3種類の中で一
Speaking of
番
vertical movement, here's a piece of tech I'm going to try and
攻
pull off
略
called a
しや
den
すいっ
boost.
ていうのが、いわゆるイージ
I
ー、
didn't quite
イ
go
ー
as
ジ
high
ー、
as I
イージー
wanted
ディ
to.
フィカルティみたいな。
In addition to the
感じ。
shortcuts you've seen me using to move from room to room, there's also shortcuts that creatures can use exclusively, and also the shortcuts or the dens that they spawn in. The
ア
player
クショ
can
ンの
actually
違い
enter
もあ
them,
るらしい。
and there's a pretty strong rejection force whenever you try to enter them. But if a den happens to be in a corner, you can try to slide down into it. Further down you go, the more you get pushed out. And so back there, ideally, I would have slid down quite far, and I would have been pushed up to the top of the room. It's a little bit hard to time, though, so we'll take the little distance that we can get.
うん。
The next room, I'm going to be
いたし
showing off
見落としてお
a
りました。
nice
食べ物と
piece
か
of
少
movement
なくて済む
I
し、敵の
found
警戒も
called
緩みますと。
or a wall pounce chain
あ
here.
りがとう
Saves
ご
a
ざいます。ち
good
ょっと
deal
待
of
って。
time. So the first wall pounce I started there. That's a little bit of sensory overload, but the first wall pounce I started there is just from a pounce and then jumping once I hit a wall. That's kind of the intended way to go about doing a wall pounce. And then after that, I threw an item, which sped my head up
ちょっと待って。
past the 7 speed that you need to start another wall pounce. And then I, from there, continued it up in a chain, multiple pounces in a row, basically.
チャット欄がちょっとバグっちゃう。
If you look in the bottom of middle of my screen, you'll see a red dot right now. That is an indication of the
大
threat
丈夫
level
です。もうこれ
of
で
the
大丈夫の
room.
はず。
It's kind of... Brain World has dynamic threat music. Will kind of add layers to it as you get into more and more danger.
物を投げると
Like
投げた
this
方向にちょ
situation
っ
we
とだ
happen
け
to
加
find
速するので、
ourselves in.
それを利用しているらしい。ありが
And
とう
this
ござ
kind
い
of
ま
gives me a
す。
gauge of what enemy spawns are in the room, what I need to worry about.
加速して
This
いるそ
room
うです。
is usually pretty much creature free. That creature we saw back there, grabbing a blue lizard, is a vulture. There's only one of them in Chimney Canopy for Monk, so I don't need to worry about them too much. And we're going to be making our way out of Chimney Canopy right now. This is our last screen right here. Now, Monk has, or every creature in Rain World has a relationship
Right.
with the slug cat. And so if you kill more lizards, lizards are more likely to want to attack you. And if you save more lizards from death or you feed them, they're less likely to attack you. And Monk starts out with pretty good reputation with all creatures.
うん
So
後ろに
this
投
is
げて
one of
も
the
加
main
速
reasons
して
it's
るか
great
も。
to speedrun for this category. You can usually, if you're being reckless, which I will not be today, you can usually jump on top of most lizards and they will not harm you. Especially white lizards, which are going to be the main enemy we have to focus on in our next region here. This is the wall. It is a subregion of what's called the exterior, and it's the exterior of Five Pebbles himself. So we are climbing up the side of Five Pebbles right now. This kind of gives you a sense of the scale. It's going to take us about 5 minutes from here to the top. You can get an idea of just how massive this structure is. Now, in Rain World, I'm going to go into a little bit of lore, so what I'm doing makes a little bit of sense. Every creature is kind of stuck in a cycle of death and rebirth, and when you die, you don't properly really die, you just wake back up again, essentially. And so these iterators were created by an ancient race with the express goal of figuring out how to ascend everything. And Five Pebbles is going to give us some, I guess, we'll call it the mark of communication. That is what it is. It's a mark that allows us to pass into an area known as the depths and ascend. It's not a global solution, and so Five Pebbles' job is not done yet. His job is to find a global solution for ascension, but it is a solution for us. So
本来進むルートを
that's why
逆
we're headed
走
to
してい
Five
る可能
Pebbles.
性
They
があると。
basically give us the
え
keys to the depth, and then we'll make our way to the depths and to the Void Sea, which will be our endpoint. I'm also performing another skip here, known as Orb Skip. I've just finished it. On the left, you can see some orange lizards. There's a giant orb over there filled with orange lizards, and it takes a long time to go through it. And orange lizards swarm you, and they're quite dangerous to deal with. So we want to skip that entirely. Using another crawl turn vault like I did in the tutorial. We make our way up that side, the wall there. The developers were nice enough to add some geometry for us. Now on the wall, the main enemy type are these white lizards. There's 4 of them always. And they are in really inconvenient positions right now.
この主
Just
人
gonna
公
probably
は
have to kill most of them.
安全な
3 in this room, and then
部屋
there'll be
に
one
行
more
き
we
た
have
いっ
to
て
look
い
out
う
for later on.
Do we have time for a couple of donations?
Yes, now's a good time while I try my best to not die.
All right. We have a $10 donation from Elite Spud saying, "Payment for Luigi's mistake, less than 3."
Thank
And Tactical Ferret has donated $25, saying, "Don't worry, Shrub. To help show off your elite speedrunning skills, we went ahead and placed all the lizards in the worst possible spots.
Thank you.
Good
Ferret.
luck," smiley face.
Thank you, Ferret.
And
ああワニみたいなトカゲ
for a midware update, since one of
色によって
those
性
went
能が違
towards
うワニみたいな
that.
トカゲが出てくる
Oh my god.
え
Smiling Friends is
白
still
は姿を
leading
消す
the
し下は
Bomber
長い
Cyberpunk
し
Custom
ま
Crew
あ
bidwar.
まあ
But
要
Glurp
する
Crew
に
now
難
has
しい
$10
と
and
こ
so
ろ
is
か
only $6 behind. This closes at the beginning of the next run, so time is getting a bit low if you want to have your say in that.
Alright, well, we just made it past our last white lizard we need to pay attention to there. We also had an encounter with some pole plants, which are, they mimic regular poles. If you're not observant enough, you will hold up on them and they will grab you and they will kill you very quickly. Flora is just as dangerous as the fauna is in Rain World. But with that, we've made it past the last of the threats on the wall.
あ
And we're doing pretty
Wow.
okay on pace. If you look out to the
アニメーション
left,
がふわっと
you
した
can
感
kind
じ
of admire Rainworld's pretty impeccable art and notice that we are above the clouds. So the rain is not a threat, the lizards are not a threat, nothing's a threat except my own stupidity at this point, which it would take
私
quite
な
a
ん
lot
か
of
ナ
effort
メ
to
ク
kill
ジと
myself
か
at this
猫
point.
ちゃ
So
ん
we should be good to go until we get
と
to
か
Five
に似た
Pebbles.
生き物
You'll also notice in the
スラック
background
キャッ
a
ト
couple of other
あ
boxes.
シェル
in
ター
the
あるけど
distance.
使ってない
Those are
おお
other iterators. So Five Pebbles is not alone in his
色も
quest
ちょっと
to
淡い
find
色
a
を使っ
solution
て
for global
淡
ascension.
い色の
Doing another skip here,
あの
make
ワ
our
イが
way onto the roof of
ふわ
Five
ふわし
Pebbles
てて
now.
かわいい
You can see the abandoned city of the ancient race that created Five Pebbles and other iterators. We'll be traversing our way across the top of the roof
あ
here. You'll notice some
イベン
blue
トを起こし
guys
た
here.
後
You
に
might
シェ
have
ルターに
seen
戻る原理を
earlier
利用して
on.
最初にエリアに
These
戻
are
る。ああ、
overseers who
デ
are
スルーラとかでは
hidden
ない
not
け
on my
ど、
screen,
なん
so I
か、
can't demonstrate their
そうい
presence,
う、
but they are the eyes and ears outside
な
of
んて言っ
Five
たらいいん
Pebbles
だろう。
chamber
何
or
に例え
Five
るのがいいんだ
Pebbles.
ろう。なんか
So
そう、
be aware of our impending
なんか
arrival.
ワープアイテムで、なんかここに戻りたいから、ま
Getting quite
あ、あえ
close
て
to Five Pebbles. This is the
行
gate
かない
right here,
あえ
Five
てなん
Pebbles
か
proper.
そう、チェックポイントみたいなとこ
Leaving
に
the
行かないみた
exterior.
い
This
な。
gate is minimum karma, so do not need to worry about karma at all. You'll have noticed a couple times I have been kind of crossing rooms really quickly using just kind of flying through the air. I'll demonstrate it in the next room. But in Rain World, you can slide. It's an intended mechanic. You can also throw an item behind you to extend your slide. It's called an extended slide. It's another intended mechanic. But by jumping out of that slide on... Oh, no items. Can't demonstrate it. On frame 1, you will get an EI jump, we call it. Extended slide instant jump. And basically you negate the ground friction and you're able to traverse the room quite quickly. We're now entering Five Pebbles structure proper. You'll notice that it's going to start to get a little bit floatier. For dramatic effect, I think Five Pebbles likes to keep the gravity off in here. You just kind of
だからノーデスが必須なんだけど、もう何種ノーデスで突破してるからすごいと、操作さんは。
lead us right into the
え
ship.
え
Nice.
結構難しいことをやってるっ
And
ていう。
we're gonna grab some items, use some momentum boosting, and shoot our way across this access shaft here. Make sure we grab a spear and a rock. You'll see why soon. And we'll say hi to Five Pebbles. Giant structure, not that huge iterator himself.
これから
Puppets
カテゴ
not
リー
quite
名にもなってる
as big
あ
as the
通常ルート
structure.
逆順
Say hello.
カテゴリー名にもなってる
Ooh,
ペブルスに
it's
会い
juking
に
me.
行く。
Gotta hit him with a spear. Now, Five Pebbles is pretty temperamental, and he does not like that, so he's gonna turn that brain blast that he gave me up to 10. So, the
わあ、
first
なんか
brain
怖
blast
い。
he
なんか
gave
ボス
me
戦っぽい
is
何か
undead,
か、
by
あ
the
れ逃
way.
げ
The
た。
first brain blast he gave me raised my maximum karma up to 10 from the 5 it
これ
used
で
to
す。
be.
ああ、この子。
And
この子がペブル
I
ス。
died, and now I'm back in Outskirts. So what happened there? When you have your maximum karma raised in Rain World, that is something that exists outside of the cycle. And so, regardless of whether or not you die, your
ああ、
maximum
もし
karma
かし
will
て
stay
これ
the
で
same.
もう
Your actual karma level
最初
will
のエリア
drop.
に戻って
So
み
now
たい
I'm
な。
down to 9, but I still have 10 as my available maximum. And that's all you actually need to ascend. There'll be a room later on that will bring our karma to 10. And so we do not need to worry about karma anymore.
あ、イベントスキップしたかもしれ
And
ない。
that gift that Five Pebbles gave me, raising my karma to have a maximum of 10, is that kind of key that we need to make it into the Void Sea. We're back in Outskirts, making our way to another section of Outskirts that we did not see earlier, heading to a region called Drainage System. And we want to be back in Outskirts and not at Five Pebbles, as Five Pebbles is much further away from our end goal, the depths, than Outskirts is. We get our first introduction to water here. This is subtle foreshadowing for what's to come in the drainage system.
イベント、
Now, drainage system is a
イベント飛ばせるん
4
だ。
karma gate right here. We have 9, so
ゲー
once
ム
again, we
の
don't need to worry
仕様
about
ですか
karma.
ね。これ多分。
Now's a great time for donations if any have come in. Otherwise, we will be making our way into drainage system. There'll be a couple of lizards
あ
we
ー、
need
デ
to
ス
worry
ル
about.
ーラ。なんか
Two green lizards and a
Desu
pink
Rura
lizard,
みたいな。
as well as a new lizard type called a salamander, who are quite dangerous in water. You see the threat indicator in the bottom middle of my screen has popped up, so I know the green lizard's in this room. He's gonna make his way through an access shortcut over to the left side of the room, so I don't need to worry about him anymore. Be a green lizard and a pink lizard. Just a green lizard for now, but the pink lizard should come through. Ooh, did not mean to fall down there. There's the pink lizard I mentioned. We're going to stand over here and bait him with noise cue.
あとは、まあ、ゴールとなる部屋を目指すと。
Oh, we're stuck.
あ、テーブルスに
There you go.
その会いに行った上でゴールを目
Got a
指す
path
カテ
ahead
ゴ
of
リーって
me,
感
but
じですか？
we'll
これもし
fall
かして。
down here. Oh, interesting. I have not seen the AI tweak out that bad for a while. All right. We're sorted now. We need to still worry about the salamander, which you can see there's a little bit of threat on my screen. Just gonna have to hope he's not in this tank I need to go down. We're okay, he's in the third tank there. And we are done with our lizard fights for this region. The main threat now is these water
ありがとうございます。
puzzles. As monk, we
そ
have
の通りだそう
pretty
です。
low breath. Each slug cat has a different kind of breath capacity, and monk has 0.8, so a little bit lower than the base 1, which is what these puzzles are designed for. So if you look in the bottom middle of my screen now, the threat indicator has been replaced with 5 white dots that indicate my breath level. Once that gets below 2 dots, I will begin to drown, which is pretty big time loss, as you'll be having to recover stamina for a while. So the inputs through these little puzzles have been pretty precisely mapped out.
SRC の表記は
all that good stuff.
23
Got a
分台
teaser
なので、
down
だ
there
い
of
たい
the hardest
25
puzzle.
分いくかいかないかとかなんですか
That
ね。
requires some pretty precise boosting underwater. See if I can get these.
早いと。
No trouble. Main boost that I need to get is right now, leaving this shortcut.
ああ、酸素の
When you're
概念
underwater,
ある
if
ん
you
だ。
press jump normally,
酸欠になると
you
やられて
will
しまう
have
と。
your breath, which is not good.
水中で。
But if you're doing it as you leave a shortcut, you'll be okay. And now we're done with the water puzzles. And we're just cruising for the last part of this region. Get a nice little music cue here as we make our way towards our final region, Filtration System, which is a sub-region of Subterranean. It's going to start getting quite dark, which is what Filtration System will be for the most part. You'll also see a little bit of threat. Down at the very bottom of this room is an evil kelp that wants to eat me. Again, I know where it is, so I can avoid it. And, oh, little wall pounce there. Make our way into the gate. Another 4 karma gate. None of the gates in Ringworld go over 5 karma, so with 9 karma, we'll never be blocked from going anywhere. We're making our way into Filtration System, which is kind of signified by the red glow in the background and it being very dark. Enemies in here are quite annoying, so we're going to
もう暗い場所をここ
eat
から
some
進
of
ん
the
でい
fruit
く
the
んだけど、
developers have so kindly placed
本
here.
来は明るくなるアイ
And
テ
using
ム
this
持
shelter
ってき
here
たりするけど、
as our final
奏者さん
shelter.
はそれを
We'll
使わ
make
ず
our way
に
to the
走って
end.
いると。取りに行
We'll
くの
also
も
get
ロ
to
ス
see a
だ。
little
取り
dream
に行く
here
のもちょっ
in a
と
second that the slug
時
cat
間
has.
かかっちゃったりするんですかね。
Dream of Ascension. Maybe we'll get to see the screen later. Depends on how well I go on time. So as we make our way further into Filtration System, the main enemy we need to worry about are mole lizards. Mole lizards are, as you might imagine, they're blind, but they have an incredible sense of hearing. And so any noise that we make will alert them and they will move towards our position quite quickly. We don't want to be stuck in these tiny little tunnels in the dark with these guys. I'm going to try and be as
アベ
careful
ン
as
ジャーという生
possible.
物が持ってて交換してもらうか
A
奪う
little bit of
か。
threat, so I know there's one around. There it is.
まあいつもはここで寝ないけど、まあ、奏者には心眼がありま
This
し
region
て、
is
まあ
quite dark.
普段は
Just
まあシェル
memorizing
ター
geometry
ではね、このタイミングではシェ
over
ルター行か
hundreds
ないけ
of
ど、まあ
speedruns,
大丈
thousands
夫、安
of
定を取
ones
って
now, actually.
シェルターに入って、
Could be in the clear though. When you take that
で奏
shelter
者さ
there
ん
at
は
the
心
start
眼
of
があ
the
るので、
region, the lizard positions. Hello,
まあ
there's a
今
clown
逃せ
car
る
down
と。
there. The lizard positions get more deterministic as they can't move too far from
ち
their
ょっと入手
starting
方法が大
dens.
変。
And so it makes the region quite a bit more predictable. We'll be moving out of Filtration System after this next room here. This is the Among Us room. If you see the Among Us, you get a gold star. And we'll be making our way into our final sub-region of our final region. Another dark region. This is the depths. Oh, I'm hitting some... There's a tech called a whiplash. You really do not want to be doing them when you're trying to do an EI jump. There we go. And like the tutorial, most base game speedruns for Rainworld have ended in the depths. And so this region is pretty precisely routed. I know where I want to have items, where the gaps in the floor are so I can climb up here, and where I want to be throwing said items. This is the room I mentioned before that will raise our karma up to 10. We had already sheltered in Filtration System, so our karma was already at 10, so we did not need to worry about that. But now we are good to go and make our way into the Void Sea. the depths is kind of, it's really one sub-region of subterranean, but a speedrunner will kind of
こ
split
こ
it
から
into
は、
two
まあ、
regions,
も
the
しかしたら
upper
まあ
and the
敵が出
lower
てこないか
depths.
ら、
You'll see the
安
lower
心して
depths
進ん
later
でいく
on.
と。
It's quite different from the upper depths. The upper depths is very linear, nice flat terrain in a lot of areas. Great for doing extended slides, like right now, and as well, doing nice backflips and roll chains. Another extended slide here, and another one for good measure here.
なんかさ、ペブルスの
This is
ところ
why
で深い場所へ行けと
items
いうアド
are
バイスも
so
らってこ
important
こに
in
来
the
ている。
depths. A run can be made or broken just by how good your items are. It is pretty much random where they spawn, so you just have to hope. And in this room, we will see the reason why we want to have maximum karma in here. These are the guardians of the depths, and if I did not have max karma at this point, they would be smashing my head into the ground, as dying in Rain World
あとどん
is
ぐら
a
いか
much
か
better
るん
way
だ
to
ろう。
go than attempting to ascend without maximum karma. With that, oh, sorry.
I have a donation if there's time.
Yeah.
All right. Saren has donated $10, saying, "Cheering for you, Shrub. Always amazing watching your runs."
Thank you, Saren. You can see the terrain has shifted now, much more organic and cave-like. It's a little bit hard to see in some of these areas, but the lighting will come around at points. It's very different than the upper depths, and is quite a bit more difficult to route. You'll also notice that there's kind of this melting effect on the screen. This is known as void melt, and in Rain World, the physics tick rate is typically set at flat 40 ticks per second, but when you are in the depths and the void melt is increased, the tick rate actually drops. So right now, I'd estimate we're at like
歪んでますが、お
27
使いのモニ
ticks
ター
per
は正常
second.
だそうです。
So all of my inputs are kind of operating at close to half speed, and the game gets a lot floatier. It also gets a little bit harder to see what you're doing, which does not help when you're trying to route pretty precisely. It also means that you end up doing what I just did there, which is failing an E-slide by throwing forwards, because your muscle memory is still set for doing them in regular time.
あ、そろそろ急に明るくなるのでご注意くださいだそうです。
Normal movement that doesn't require switching inputs super quickly. Routing is not steadfast really anywhere in Rain World. You can pick and choose whatever your movement of choice is. Messed up a little jump there. This game is quite
まあ、
untazable.
最後の部屋に入った瞬間がタイマー
There's
ストップ
no
なんだ
real
けど、
way
どの
to
辺なんだろうってい
save
うの
states
が。
predictably. So the fastest way to do a room is something that's only really found by community members collaboratively working on a run.
多分、
And
そ
it
ろ
means
そろ
that just about
近い
everything you
んだ
find
と
in
思うん
runs
で
is
すけれど
human
も。
doable. And it's a great way, I think, to find runs. Knowing that there's always a way that the time can go down is really encouraging for newer runners. This is our second to last room. It's getting very floaty in here.
あ
I'm
と
very
もう
happy to see
少
it.
しだそうであり
Not
がと
going
う
to
ご
get
ざいます。
better in the next room. The void melt is going to get cranked up, but
Oh.
I know where I am. I know I need to get a nice item boost there. I wanted to get a second item there, but it is what it is.
うわぁ、
And we will start to see the void sea here. This is not your regular water.
早っ。主人公がどこにいるのか。あ、いたいたいたいた。
So I dive down here. Time will end right when this screen transition
Yeah.
happens. Ta-da. That's the run. That's a 26:32. Yeah. Not a bad run.
終わりましたか
Yeah, not a
ね
bad。run. Had some issues with the white lizards on the wall.
でもタイマーが止まっていないぞ。
Pink and
あ、
drainage
でも。
system.
ああ、そっか。でもリアルタイムのタイマーストップは
Continue
もうちょっ
down
と
here
先
for
か
a。little bit. Show you guys the ascension.
リアルタイムだとなんかローリングが出たタイ
This
ミン
run
グとか
ends
に
back there on that screen transition because
なるんで
this
したっけ、
next
そういえ
area
ば。
is quite a trip. It is quite long, about 7 minutes, I believe, and also it is very RNG. And the source of that RNG
インゲームタイム
these
とかだ
guys
と
in the background here, these void worms. You saw them in that dream that I had.
最後
when
の
I
部屋入っ
sheltered
た
at
タ
the
イミ
top
ン
of
グ
the
なんですけ
filtration
ど。
system. And as they pass by you, they actually part a force. It's going to get a little bit loud in here. And that force can save you up to 2 minutes in a run if you're going all the way to the end. So, for runner sanity, that was cut out of speedruns.
リアルタイ
And now they
ム
just end
だ
on the
と、
cutscene
もうちょっ
or
と
on
先
the
に
screen transition
なるっぽいですね。
start of this area. You also notice I'm wiggling as I swim down here. Wiggling while swimming is quite a bit faster.
ローリング
And
の
I'm
文字
also
が出た
boosting
瞬
a
間
lot
になるんで
while
す
I
よね。
swim, as the void sea does not actually
SRC を見
consume
た
your
感じ
breath.
ですと。
So you're free to press jump without losing half of your breath every time you do it. We'll be making our way past these void worms here.
ひたすら下に向かって進む操作をしているらしい
Further
です。
down into
あり
the
がとう
void
ござい
sea.
ます。
Rain World,
まあ、ゲーム内
more
時間が
generally,
止まってるんですね、確かに。
it's, I think, a fundamental, it's a phenomenal speed game. It's really heavily based around the movement. It's super hard to describe what Rain World is while also describing the movement. So much of it is based on states and past knowledge that you need to have from playing the game. I think this is a great run to showcase the beauty of Rain World. We've just recently, in the last month, had a new DLC come out, The Watcher, which is great, and the speedruns are just starting to become real and routed. I'll pause right here, as our good community friend Jerry is going to come and give us an inspection. Jerry is one of these void worms we've seen in the background, and he's going to take us further down into the void sea towards Ascension. This is a massive trip. I don't even really understand what's happening, and I've played the game for 1,500 hours plus.
Oh.
We are going to get to hear my favorite piece of music in the game, though.
Yeah.
Now, depending on load times,
こんな
this
に
may
ガーンって引っ張れちゃったら大丈夫なん
take
でしょう
about
か
a minute. Can take less time, but I have a pretty big save file right now, so it might take a little bit. We're gonna get pulled quite deep down into the depths here, and then dropped off by our friendly taxi Jerry. Any minute now.
Wow.
Wow, alright. Must be charging us by the hour. We're gonna say, hey, let me go. Goodbye. Say goodbye to Jerry. He's quite dramatic. He'll be back in a second. We're gonna start our swim
確かに
down into the right here.
なんか飛行機が離陸する
Hard to
時
see
み
at the
たいな
start,
感じの
but there is slight glow in the bottom right, and we will be swimming
わーって
towards
感
the
じの
light. Now, as you might imagine, we're not exactly finding our
連れてってくれたん
border,
ですかね
the
運んで
starting
くれてあ
goal
りがと
of
う
Monk.
っていうチャット欄で
So it's a bit of a tragedy,
ありが
this
とうございます
story. Slug
あ、
Cat
なん
not really
か
knowing what they're getting into.
仲間が出てきた
It's a pretty story. The lore is very expansive in this game. And as we make our way over to this light here, this is where the speedrun would normally end, or in the past had ended.
何
Like I
向かっ
said, for
て
runner
仲間たち
sanity,
とした
that
下
was
を泳い
cut
でい
out.
くとおや
In addition to the monk and survivor that I've mentioned, there's also get a
これは
count.
こう真ん中
Eight
辺にいる
other
のが
slug
主人
cats
公
to
の
play now,
ラッキャットちゃん
including the Watchers campaign that just got released. So there's a lot of categories to run in Rain World. The community is pretty active, and there's a lot of new routing discovered all the time. Because, like I mentioned, housing isn't really a thing that we can do. Hard to find optimal routing room by room. So anyone that has pretty exceptional platforming skill can usually succeed in Rain World.
一
We've
体
had
ど
some
こへ向
real
かっている
runners
のか。
coming from games like Hollow Knight and Pizza Tower who have done very well in Rain World. It's gonna get a little loud as we swim towards this part of the light.
わあ、このなんか光が見えて。
That's it. See the ending cutscene.
おー、GG で
This
す。
run, Monk Pebbles is kind of like
34分
my
58秒
child in terms of Rain World
でございまし
speedrunning.
た。
In the last 18 months, I
ほ
brought
ぼ
the time from
EST 通りの時間で。
25:32 real time to a 23:53 real
わ
time.
あ、なんか綺麗な。
So
な
I
んと
really
綺麗
like
な。
running this.
グッドゲームでございます。
And we'll get to see some great art.
Oh, well, thanks so much for running that for us.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you, No Glitches Allowed, for letting me run this.
おー、
It's
かわ
a
いい。
great opportunity. This is the first marathon I've been in, and it went pretty well. And this is the survivor, the silhouette of the survivor. So the brothers did get reunited in the end.
何と出会ったんだ。
Yeah. Thank you very much. I'm going to let you take us out.
All right. Well, thanks again for
はい。
that run. It was,
ということで、
I liked seeing that. And that was Rain World Monk Pebbles Percent, run by Shrub.
ということで、そうですね。
And I
GG でございました。
will say,
34分58秒。
especially thanks for doing this as your first marathon run.
Yeah, thank you. It was a lot of fun.
こちら。